Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Bill Chase and the Movies, and I've got 7 big ones for you this week, and we're going to kick it off with Johnny Depp in the new gangster flick, Public Enemies, a biopic about the infamous bank robber and gangster John Dillinger. This movie escapes numerous cliches about making a hero out of a guy who was indeed the villain. While Dillinger was somewhat of a modern-day Robin Hood, he was not what you would call a nice person. Despite not making things personal with people at the banks that he robbed, he was downright ice cold in his attitude in the aspects of what he did. But at the same time, he never tried to justify his actions in ways that most people generally would. And they really, really portray that here in this film. Dillinger was the type of person who loved what he did. He loved everything about it. And he makes no qualms about that. And I love how this movie was not so clear cut in Dillinger's motives themselves, but what it really did was that it explained it to us, but it doesn't try to give us the stupid Hollywoodized explanation of this man. There's not a scene where he breaks down and explains why he is who he is. Depp plays it to a point where he's eased and comfortable, and everyone who's a diehard Depp fan knows that he's more than capable of that. But more recently with films such as Sweeney Todd and the Pirates franchise, it's caused him to crank the volume knob all the way up with those films, but yet he can turn it all the way back down for something as easy as this. And that's where you really had to admire Johnny Depp. And another thing I admire about him is that, you know, he could just be another Hollywood. He's making a ton of money. He's one of the richest stars in Hollywood. But he's not a Hollywood star being stuck in a film saying, here's Johnny Depp, come see this. Depp is not collecting a paycheck here. He's giving dynamic to this role. How can you not admire that about an actor who's one of the top paid in Hollywood? Depp is being cited as the modern day Paul Newman, and it's getting more accurate as time goes on in terms of his ability and the way he handles things. How this movie escaped the cliches and distanced himself from the reluctant chemistry between the stars is in the genius of Michael Mann, who not only directed but co-wrote this film with Ronan Bennett and Ann Biederman. Along for the ride, also in this film, is in Dillinger's Dangerous Life, is a beautiful woman played by Marion Cotillard, an Oscar winner, of course, for La Vie en Rose a couple years ago, and this is her first Hollywood mainstream film. The relationship between the two is played out in a fashion where Dillinger uses his charms to woo this girl off her feet. The relationship plays out like a real courtship of two people looking for something exciting, and they find it in each other. This isn't just a scene where Depp gets wild and freaky with a hot-looking Oscar-winning actress. It's really, really good. The way the story builds between the two. I also have to give major credit to Christian Bale here, who's showing he really is a marvelous actor with his role as Melvin Purvis of the FBI. And he, like Dillinger, is cold, ambitious, and driven by what he loves to do. And the similarities between these two characters are amazing. There's also the major differences, but yet it just makes it for all the more interesting meaning-wise. And it's also in the sense that people can have the same personalities but use it in many different aspects, and they really, really drove that home here without being insulting or without being over the top with it. And I'd have to think that, you know, for those who criticize Bale hardcore, get over it. I mean, yeah, okay, the guy's a bit of a diva, but at the same time, if you don't think he's a great actor, you gotta remind yourself, pick up a copy of The Machinist, another film he was fantastic in. And I also thought he was fantastic in The Dark Knight. I'm not gonna rescind that statement at all. Depp has really set a new standard, however, for the gangster role, and this movie flows along, giving us a seemingly cold, bold reality of what this world was like. And the setting of this film really helps the material along. It's a film that seems so simple but was given so much power behind its punch, and it packs a powerful wallop. The story seems to have the sense of awareness to it, like that so many films seem to be lacking in this aspect. And it also seems to create a world that only Hollywood could come up with, but yet it wasn't. The actors are in terrific form. They bring so much dynamic and diversity to the roles, and Depp proves why he's one of the best working in Hollywood today. I'd also got to give some credit to the supporting work from the likes of Rory Cochrane, Jason Clarke, Billy Crudup, Stephen Dorff, and Giovanni Ribisi. So with that, Public Enemies, a fantastic film, and maybe Depp, maybe the first contender for Best Actor. And I give it 4.5 stars out of 5.